Welcome to another video of Fully Simplified. In this video, we will briefly touch upon what is AWS Outpost, what are its different use cases, how it can be used, and why do we even need it. So without further ado, let's proceed. So AWS Outpost can be set as an extension of AWS Region. So what do I mean by that? So AWS is all on cloud, which means these are the data centers which are there somewhere in different regions, different part of the world, but they're still managed by AWS, right? They're the physical location where we have regions, and then we have different availability zones. But what if we want to somehow use our on-prem resources and still we want them to be managed by AWS? Is that possible? If that is, then it will be really good, right? Because from the AWS, we'll be still able to manage those on-prem hosted EC2 instances, and still they can be part of the cloud. So what I'm talking here is like the hybrid cloud approach. So we have the public cloud and we have our on-prem as well. We try to get best of the both worlds. So yeah, this is something which is possible through AWS Outpost. So what we can do is, when we have our outpost, which is sort of, you can say, a virtual data center still managed by AWS. So that virtual data center will be able to directly use the CIDR IP range for the VPC of the whole region, or like beyond the region as well. So this thing will be more clear when we'll see the network diagram, how it pans out. So the instances which are there in the outpost, they will be part of our regional big picture VPC, virtual private cloud, and they can be used from our on-prem resources as well, and they can be used from the cloud resources as well. So from both parts. And it can be set, this AWS Outpost, it can be set as an like IT as a service, because we are providing the whole, not just infrastructure, not as service, but more than that, like the full IT as a service, just a term which was coined. These days we are getting a lot of this as a service, right? so yeah, it is helping us to bring the hybrid cloud as well. So what it will bring out is sort of another version of like hybrid cloud. But the hybrid cloud we also means like on-prem and on cloud, but also different clouds, AWS, Azure, GCP, that's also the hybrid cloud. But here what I'm talking about, the hybrid cloud, is we have something on-prem, we have something on actual cloud, which is that data center managed by AWS, not just manages physically there in, let's say, US East 2 or Canada Central, this and that. Yeah, it is a fully managed service. So once we have them on the outpost, they can be fully managed by AWS, right? But it depends on the service, what kind of service we want. Do we want it to be fully managed, or we want it to manage ourselves? What part is still debatable. So in this slide, we'll see an example of AWS Outpost. So here you can see we have an like AWS region, this box here, and we have this company's network which is in there. So one region we have this VPC which can pan out multiple regions, right? So this VPC has this CIDR range. I hope you're aware of the CIDR ranges. It says there's 16 IPs there, they're blocked, but we can still use 16. So that's the range. And within that we have two. So these are like two availability zones, with zone 1, availability zone 2. One availability zone has one subnet with this CIDR, and another with this CIDR. And so the interesting thing here is that we, in our network, that is the main part, we have another sort of availability zone. This is like availability zone 3, but that's still not on AWS region, but this is in our network, our local hosted on-prem network. And here you can see this subnet 3, the CIDR range is this 10.0.3.0, right? Which is coming from this VPC range, which means that any of these EC2 instances which are there, they can share the same network IP ranges for this. So this is just an extension. So this Outpost is just an extension of availability zone, right? You can see this is another availability zone, but locally hosted. So what is benefit? A lot of benefits we have for our data residency purpose, that we want to keep our data ourselves, but still we want the AWS to sort of manage it, and still we want that SDKs, APIs, all those things to be there. So that's one region, and so we'll have lesser latency for this EC2 instance if we want to connect it through our local network, and that is possible through this local gateway. So this local gateway will do the net translation, for example, and then help us to connect to, these EC2 instances on our Outpost. So yeah, this diagram shows what is an Outpost and how we can use it. And this link will touch upon what these are and what are the different things in the Outpost which we need. As you can see in this, there's a link, right? So we need to have some link here as well. It can be internet or it can be direct connect between these as well. Both have their own benefits, right? So yeah, let's now discuss some of the key concepts about this AWS Outpost. So Outpost site, we need to have a particular, there are some requirements for the on-prem data center to be the Outpost, because not everything can be the Outpost site. So there are some requirements where they're still, because this Outpost sites, they're still customer managed physically. They are physically managed by the buildings. They're not in the AWS region. They're outside the AWS regions. So there must be many requirements, right? Like what kind of facility we want, what kind of networking, the power requirements, cooling requirements, all these things will come into picture once we want to have installed the Outpost. Another thing will be the configuration, right? So we may want different kind of Outpost configurations, different kind of storage capacity, networking. We want EC2, all of that. So different kind of network configuration, Outpost configurations needs different requirements, right? They can be heating, cooling, and weight support requirements for these devices. And main interesting, this is one of the important one, is that this Outpost, there are different servers or racks, right? So the racks is the bigger part. Racks can have multiple servers. So these racks and servers, they are being provided by Amazon, and they will be installed. These will be installed on the on-prem space, and yeah, this is also one of the, you can say, requirement of key part of the Outpost, that we'll need to have these racks and servers of different. They're also different kinds. They come in different configurations, which we'll see next, just briefly. Another is, as you have seen this, the link which I showed between the Outpost and the AWS region, that's a service link. So we need to have that service link so that our AWS region can connect to the Outpost. Right. And another thing which was also there in the diagram, is this local gateway. Our own Outpost will have a gateway which will allow the internal network of our company to access the Outpost. Right. So that is also something we need to have. There are multiple other things. I will not go into too much details, because this video is just to give an overall understanding of what Outpost is and why do we need it, all of that. So this is the two possible different kinds of form factors, we say, right? So one is this rack and one is the server, which we need to have installed on the Outpost. Right? So this rack is, we can say, is 2042U, which is units. So it can have 42 different servers in there, where we can also have a server of 1 or 2 unit. And in order to scale, we can have multiple of these racks. Last time I checked up, there was like, you can have 96 different racks to create the pool. So it will be like, just imagine very large. For medium company, but the large company, they can have it, right? Okay, so let's briefly discuss what kind of different Outpost services are there which are supported by AWS. So important one are these EC2 instances, and as you can see, we have different categories. Are they supported on racks, or they can be supported on servers too? So we have ECS, we have AKS. So AKS in special, you can see it is just supported on racks. As you can imagine, it's it has 2 plane, it has a control plane, it has a worker plane, a data plane, you can say. So it's a cluster service, it needs racks. So yeah, we have different kind of services which are supported. Service mesh, our S3 buckets, EBS, all of them are supported. We'll just take one example of EKS. So EKS, as you can see here, comes into 2 different planes, control plane and our data plane. So AWS Cloud has this Kubernetes control plane, which is a master, and then it's managed by AWS as well. And then we have connection from the Outpost to the AWS Cloud. And here we have various worker nodes which are there in the Outpost, managed by, like, physically present in the customer data center, but are still fully managed by our AWS. Then we'll see briefly what kind of different service links are there. So there are 2 different kinds of service links. One is using the direct connect. So as you can see in this diagram, we have the customer premises, we have AWS region, and they're connected through AWS direct connect. Here this diagram is a bit more elaborated. So again, the same thing actually. So we have our region, we have VPC. In VPC we have just one availability zone, one subnet, and this is the Outpost, which has a subnet and a local gateway to connect to the internal network of the premises. Another way we can have the service link is through the public internet. So we can leverage public internet, but the speed can be slow. So yeah, this is something we need to see as per the demands and the requirements of our applications which are running on premises. Another one is how we can leverage the local gateway. So this diagram shows this is the local gateway we have on the Outpost, and this further basically sort of advertise the subnet using the borrow gateway protocol. So we'll see this in little bit more detail. So let's say this is the CIDR range, this VPC CIDR for the whole VPC, which is /16. So there are 16 bits, you can say 2 raised to 16 number of IPs we have them for our use, minus 2 or 3, whatever, that they're blocked, right? They're reserved for broadcasting and for the network itself. So we have these many, and we have given them, let's say we have 2 subnets /24/24/24 here, right? So this subnet 3 is /24, and what we have done is this, we have advertised a smaller part of it, which is /26, which means 26 are reserved and other are available to use, which means, so what I'm trying to say is that from this subnet 3 we have a subnet, you can say, from this, which can be used towards the local network. I mean, local is which is hosted like on customer premises, right? And also we can access our own local network, which is this IP CIDR 172 dot. So yeah, this diagram shows, I think, the overview of Outpost and how it can be leveraged and to our use. So guys, thanks a lot, and this is just the 3rd video I have on the internet on YouTube, and I am learning. There are a lot more new things, and If you like the video, then please subscribe to the channel and like the video, comment and share, and do let me know how I can improve. Thank you so much. Bye for now.